We're back. Who are we? I'm Brent Leary.
I believe I'm Paul Greenberg.
Why am I whispering?
I have no idea.
Anyway, we're the CRM players, and we are fresh back from doing our own show, which you will see because it was recorded kind of live in front of a studio audience.
Yeah.
You know? Pretty cool. You'll
Very
like
cool.
it. We think you do, except there are some disturbing things that took place on set.
And it's well worth you spending the time to wait till it happens. You know how you always see on TikTok, wait to the end? So on that one, wait to the end when you see our stuff.
But in the meantime, we are checking out the apps keynote here at CloudWorld, and Steve Miranda is on stage. So going to check him out and see what he has to say, and we'll talk about it as he talks.
And we may, if the spirit moves us, we'll have some guests.
And let's watch a short video about JP Morgan first.
Yeah, let's definitely take it.
I think the video is a lot lower than his.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody out there checking this out, let us know. Leave a comment.
And if you leave a comment, you send an email.
Keep us abreast of the Yankees game if
Yeah.
there's any scores.
I want you to know how much I appreciate you as audiences. I am literally going to be missing part of the Yankees ALCS game so I can be with Brent and broadcast to you. I want you to know that.
We're doing this all for you.
That's right, all two of you.
There's three.
Oh, three. Three. Wow.
We're cooking with gas here, folks.
Yeah, well, if we are, we better call in the fire marshal because that will not be good here.
Anyway, looking forward to seeing, we got a little later start because we had to huff it over, but we're looking forward to seeing what Steve has to say.
So if we're dead silent the whole time, well, just enjoy the video.
I have to say, the video, the production level quality
Again,
across the board has been great.
Off the friggin' charts, man. It's just like so high.
We need to do a shout out to Kim Guillaume while we're thinking about it.
That's a
for hooking
great-
us up with this really great studio setup.
Well, you know, literally, let's even expand it to what we both know. She's literally becoming the goddess of AR, right? She's getting really good at this thing. She is a wonderful person. She has been enormously attentive to all the analysts in her domain. We affectionately refer to her as boss. We think she's the boss, and we're older bosses ourselves.
Well, remember the Godfather of CRM calls you the goddess of AR, right?
Yeah, so think of that.
Yeah. All right, so let's check out some of this. What's going
So this guy is the head of global payments for JP Morgan.
on. Yeah, that's what it says.
I'm going to go ask him for some swag, given what he does. I'm going to see what I can get the swag from him. Can I have a global payment, please?
Thousands of people to plan and execute that. So I don't need to talk about JP Morgan, the largest retail bank in the world in the US at Chase, the largest wholesale bank in the world at JP Morgan. But our business, JP Morgan Payments, represents about 10% of the bank in terms of revenues, profits, and employees. We have about 25,000 people. But it is a business that operates at a tremendous global scale. My two favorite stats, we move $10 trillion every day, which
What?
is a little bit more than $10
What number did he just say?
$10 trillion.
That's what I thought he said.
times, somewhere around Thanksgiving, we move 5,500
$10 trillion a day.
5,500 transactions a second.
Christmas shopping.
That's
We
amazing.
operate in every country, every currency, every payment method. We serve the vast majority,
You know, I guess just on a pure, like,
as well as hundreds of thousands.
how does a company get that big and do that much?
Always look for how
I mean,
Well, there's this guy named J.P. Morgan back in the early 1800s.
innovation and solutions.
I thought
He was pretty good with money.
Apparently.
That's a theme of this whole conference. Before we get that, I think the audience would be thrilled to understand a lot of uncertainty, a
You think Steve? You think Steve will ask him if he's a Patriots fan at the end of
I'm
this?
guessing no.
What are top of mind issues in your business today?
Sure. So for us, there are always kind of three things that we're thinking about. The first one is keeping our customers safe, whether it is fraud, whether it is cyber security, whether it is geopolitical risks, whether it is hurricanes, whether it is COVID, whether it's people working from home or from wherever else. We need to continue to process that 10 trillion a day. It is about
10 trillion.
money flow in the global economy for whatever reason. Keeping our customers safe, we do that at a 7 sigma accuracy. You can never be satisfied. Even at 7 sigma, it means that sometimes things happen, but we continue to strive to make that number better. The second area is around risk management. Our clients, especially the larger ones, operate in multiple parts of the world. They manage complex supply chains, multiple bank accounts, multiple currencies, multiple FX exposures, and they need ways to have real-time visibility and the ability to forecast and understand their cash positions and manage those and move their supply chains when they need to build resiliency or they want to move. They have to move from one.
You know, actually, that was just, even though it's, I think, probably obvious in retrospect, but it was sort of interesting the way he described what it took to keep customers safe, because he basically categorically identified about, I don't know, 7 or 8 different ways to keep a customer safe, from risk management, health, disasters, cyber attacks. I mean, it was also kind of scary that all of them are possible.
I'm still hung up on the 10 trillion transactions a day. How do you come up with numbers like that? It's amazing.
Again, those scales are just, I don't even know how to think about them. I really don't. And the problems
And it's just one
manifest in
company.
the idea, yeah.
What we're doing together and how we're going to make things better.
We get impressed when we hear billions of transactions a day, and this is 10 trillion.
Shoot, I'll take a couple 100,000.
I mean, I'm impressed with me being able to do 3.
This oftentimes takes 4 to 6 weeks to do in the cloud. You are pulling from our ERP system, you're calling your bank, you're establishing a secure connection. You're doing essentially an IT project. So can you take us through, with our combined efforts now doing this together, how are we approaching it differently and how what will the customers see?
So let me just start with a story, right? So yesterday night I got my iPhone 14 Pro Plus or whatever it is. I changed iPhones every like 2 or 3 years, so I got it. You put the new iPhone next to the old iPhone. You say yes a couple of times, wait a couple of hours, it's all done, right? Why is it all done? Well, interoperability between the phones and all of the information is in the cloud. Now juxtapose that with a large company that operates with multiple banks or is in the process of transitioning between a bank and another one, or an ERP system moving to the cloud, etc. And you get a great JP Morgan banker or salesperson to tell you how amazing we are and how much money you're going to save in real-time payment systems and blockchain and coins and all of that.
Still
And the
big
CFO
audience
gets
out there.
excited, and the treasury team starts thinking about, oh my God, I need to go and update every bank account, every information, every who is authorized signatory in each one of my accounts, etc., etc. 4 weeks is a good case. We've also seen, months. So what we are trying to do together with Oracle is really at scale solve that problem. So the most difficult part of dealing with JP Morgan is pronouncing my last name if you have to, right? So Fusion and JP Morgan payments will work as one. You upgrade the version of Fusion, JP Morgan accounts get updated automatically.
Wow.
You change from one bank to JP Morgan, your information gets updated automatically. So we're hoping it's going to be like changing iPhones.
Well, so when we reached out to
It's a great way to explain it.
team, they said, well, wait a minute, all these customers who've been calling us as they move to cloud and we've doing this 4-week process, we get to automate that? And we're like, yeah, that's what we want to do. We're like, sign us up. So now, next favorite thing, once we get it connected though, so that's just a kind of a logistics, it's 4 to 6 weeks, but we want to explore some transactions. One of the transactions, not a fan favorite, especially all of you who are not used to traveling, you're going to have to go back and do expense reports. So
Not
we
me.
think with this integration now, we have that financing capability, we have integration directly to JP Morgan and your APIs, again, our cloud to your cloud. How do you envision, how are we going to change expense reporting?
So first of all, what we really liked about working with Oracle is that we speak the language of cloud, of APIs, and of continued innovation. So I think what we are doing with cards is hopefully going to be step one of many more ideas.
So wait,
that our teams
is
are
he starting to talk about a strategic alliance between Oracle and JP Morgan on expense reporting? Because other than that, I mean, why would JP Morgan be involved in expense reports? Unless they're just talking about JP Morgan specific accounts.
They kind of explained it as kind of a partnership.
So they're going to create what?
Well, how many thousands of employees does JP Morgan have?
I don't know. And I know it's. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I can make it up.
Some of the receipts now come via email. But the underlying issue is the same.
Curious on this one, though. This one makes
But
me
you know
really
what?
curious.
It makes sense for a partnership because, you know, JP Morgan at its heart is still not 100% a technology company.
Right.
And when you think about 10 trillion transactions, you need some serious tech to be able to handle that. You really kind of need a partner.
No, and to your point, I get that. I'm just wondering. So look, let me put it in a competitive way.
Yeah.
SAP has SAP Concur.
Right.
That is an expense report app that works universally with anything you want to use it with, even individually.
Right.
Is Oracle talking about doing something which is, it just strikes me odd, not necessarily badly, but odd that Oracle and JP Morgan are combining to do something about expense reporting. And I'm thinking, well, what is JP Morgan's role in that?
Maybe.
I get Oracle's role in it, create a Concur-like application that handles it. I don't get JP Morgan's role in that.
It sounds like there's a payoff from their perspective to have a partnership with a company that can do it beyond just a vendor relationship.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would be great
I
if
mean,
that's
the
what's
scale
happening.
that these guys are talking at, they can't just think about regular vendor technology
You get
partnerships.
it directly from JP Morgan.
relationships.
It's not just JP Morgan. It
Here
is
we go.
directly integrated to Fusion
No,
automatically.
still not telling me.
Anything is there for your expense.
It may be JP Morgan expense reporting he's talking about,
I'm quite excited about
judging from what he just kind of said.
for more sophisticated transactions.
Like for JP Morgan customers, things that, I don't know. That one, we got to, I think,
Maybe JP Morgan will end up selling some of these things off. I don't know.
well, no, look, we see the trend in a lot of things that you and I have, we've met with some of the companies that are doing it, where companies like a JP Morgan are becoming apps companies.
What do we call them? Products
Right.
companies are becoming service companies, and
yeah.
service companies becoming products companies.
So that it's a possible outcome of this thing, but it just,
The scale that they're talking about.
well,
is,
that's the thing.
yeah, it's,
But if I don't work for JP Morgan, can I do the expense reporting with this based on what these two are talking about?
what if we at the end of this? And today we announced.
That's right. Oracle Morgan expense report.
OM.
Or then they'll announce a merger between JP Morgan and Oracle.
Wow.
Whereas from here on, it's Oracle JP Morgan doing 50 trillion transactions a minute.
You need some serious tech though to pull that off.
The scale of this stuff is mind-boggling, and I don't pretend to even understand it at this level.
Ellison, I'm sure you got a call from a guy and multiple exactly. So there was panic set in on two offices on two coasts going forward. So Takis, thank you very much. We very much look forward to the partnership, and most importantly, we look forward to you, our customers, getting more automation. And then as you start to receive that automation, giving us feedback, because we're both excited to deliver more and more services to you to make B2B commerce fully automated. Takis, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I like this format. Everybody is very casual and comfortable. They're not selling. Nobody's selling on stage. They're just telling stories.
We want to continue.
Well, to be fair, Steve did a little selling right there at the very end when he talking to the customers and looked out to talk to. I mean, that was
That was
the
like,
only thing. Steve is one of my favorite humans at this company. He's a wonderful person. He's also one of the most capable executives I've ever known. That one was scripted. That little ending
Maybe
piece
that
there.
last part, but
I think most of it. To your
wasn't.
point, it was
Yeah.
great. It was a conversation. there's just a little ad at the. It's basically a conversation with an ad at the end.
Yeah.
Excited about it. So let me shift gears now a little bit to what about today and what have we been up to and what are some highlights that you all should be aware of in Fusion applications. And we're going to structure this as we're quite proud in that we believe we provide everything you need to run your business and run it nimbly to be able to react to those changes I talked about.
John
before.
Ferrara.
We deliver
What?
innovation that
John
matters,
Ferrara.
matters not only to you and your
Nimble.
bottom line,
Doing it nimbly.
also matters
We're announcing the acquisition of Nimble.
what we provide you and how we operate ourselves. And 100% committed to your success, customer focused, and I'm going to have some customers come on stage to give some examples of that. What do I mean by all of these sections? First of all, everything you need. So we believe we have the most complete portfolio from ERP, including supply chain and consolidations, HCM, including payroll, benefits, talent management, recruiting, supply chain management and manufacturing, both process and discrete across multiple industries, and customer experience. From
He actually
sales,
said that kind of carefully when he said, "We believe we have the most complete one."
That's I like that instead of
to the extent
Yeah, it was careful because it doesn't mean they actually do, but Oracle thinks they do, and that's
and they
fair.
have reason to believe.
Well,
it.
no, I will tell you this. It's I'm one of these people who doesn't believe the only is a real word in the tech world. We're the only. But I will tell you, they have one of the great end-to-end portfolios I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they take it to a level, because they are so data historic a company, they take it to a level, that deeper level than probably any company I've seen.
Well, now he's talking about just a pure tech
Right.
layer.
brand new machine, Exadations, brand new version of the database,
Look at the availability.
operating system,
99.9.
Now here, okay, this goes to what Hillel was talking to us about on design. Look at the background of that. That's data, right? And it's clearly data. And all of a sudden, everything clicks into place with how Redwood's being applied on this back here. Well, I mean, really important. Again, that goes to the heart of the
I wonder how
stunning.
many people actually pick up on that.
You know, judging from Hillel and Jenny, not a lot of people will overtly pick up on it, but it works subliminally, which is how a lot of these designers think. I know the principles they're working off of because I studied those. I have no design skills, but I know the, I know the concepts, the principles, and some of the playbook, and the expectation is people will effectively imply data internally, meaning they don't say, "Oh, that's data," but they'll kind of know it.
what it looks like. Let's roll a short video of our brand new Redwood user interface.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Speaking of data. Ooh. Oh, Brent, it's on your shirt.
Oh, this is my shirt?
Yeah. It's the one that has the new data interface.
See it? They can see it.
See? That's it.
Interesting.
And this one's different.
I had dirt on my shirt. I never had data on my shirt.
You have a data interface on your shirt. You can do, it's a shirt, so you can only do 100,000 transactions a minute on it.
Beads of sweat.
I mean, look at this. This is like, look at the visuals even on this. This is Jenny Lamb and Hillel Cooperman's work, and of course, as they would want to say, their team.
Right.
Okay,
team.
we'll include their team in there, and that, yes,
It's really smooth.
yes. I think that's my shirt. That one.
Looking great. Now, I talked about what we have in the completeness suite, but some of you may be sitting there saying, yes, but ERP, I got GL, APAR, yes, I got HR, but I need these specialty applications. I need something that just to extend, something that Oracle's not going to build and never going to build. How do I do that? How do I do that comprehensive way? Well, again, today we're launching our applications platform, which is really a combination of best-in-class tools, both Visual Builder for professional developers.
That's like the
as
low
well as
code.
I was going to say, is their version of no code logo?
Yeah, I think that's their low code part.
applications that we don't provide. In addition to that,
That's the no-code part.
behind me. Page templates components
That's fantastic.
allow you to design those extended applications and have it
See, now that's unique.
exactly like the Fusion app.
Yeah, I don't think any other vendor is doing that.
No, I mean, Infor kind of did a little of that back in the very early days when they first were doing their design work, but nobody else since has even come close, and this is complete, I know.
And in addition to that, we provide you the APIs to the application.
I gotta tell you,
so that you can
the
integrate
live stream has been great on for today.
The
I haven't
quality
seen
is
it's beautiful.
incredible.
the most complete suite available. Now extending that to partners like JP Morgan and FedEx, and allowing you the application platform to further extend for that last.
But you know the other side of this, which is sort of brilliant about Oracle right now on that particular move?
So who is taking
You use that template. You provide it to your partners, you provide it to your customers, and that ties you even deeper into the Oracle ecosystem because you're literally using the same design principles that they're using.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, it improves the effectiveness and the efficiency of the tools you're using from Oracle because the interfaces are common and familiar.
Yeah.
And yet also a pleasure to use, which is the other side.
It deepens the level of relationship.
Yeah, which is
payroll in a
excellent.
very sophisticated, very large environment. Humana, I can go on and on. In financial services, when I mentioned before that the majority, it's really a who's who. JP Morgan Chase, I always mentioned, we'll talk to them in just a bit. Citi, Bank of America,
Wait a minute, didn't you just talk to
UBS,
JP?
Vanguard, the largest
It said JP Morgan Chase.
HSBC,
Chase.
PNC
Yeah,
Bank,
that's the other another part of JP Morgan.
here as a guest speaking on our behalf during this conference. Again, I can go on and on in those customers.
How long has he been with Oracle?
29 years, 28 years.
Oracle's had
Last I saw, which I think was, this is why I say that, about a year ago, I think I saw somebody that said 27 years. So this must be 28. I wish we had our market intelligence chief with us, but Rebecca had to go home today.
Alibaba, Priceline, Twitter, Snap. Again, apologize for leaving people out that I think
Digital economy customers.
Yeah, they noticed they had Six Flags. I don't know if I call that a digital economy
Yeah,
customer.
there, just
Oh, that's hospitality and logistics. He skipped.
yeah.
FedEx. We have the largest ports in the world, including DP World, Port of Singapore.
Wow.
Customers. Most of the
That's got to be their supply chain
this week,
stuff.
Caesars, MGM Resorts, all run Oracle applications. In smaller industries, including gaming,
Who was that NBA player who got banned at Six Flags
anytime in the United States,
in the last couple of days?
chances are
Some NBA player got banned for life from Six Flags.
For life?
Yeah, he did something stupid there. I can't forget what it was.
Wow.
Sainsbury's, the cooperative in the UK, Albertsons, Kroger, amongst
Wow.
others in the US.
Wayne
So
Dixon.
think about that on your trip here. If you stayed in a hotel, if you packed a snack with groceries, or maybe ate at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or Wendy's, I would leave out the healthcare customers, but hopefully not you went to a hospital.
But if you're eating that stuff, you're going to need to talk about your healthcare
Hey, there's
customers.
Chipotle.
With our peers who are running our applications, and it is all
If you, they should give you a 30% discount at Chipotle if you attended Oracle CloudWorld.
hundreds of features in every product area every quarter. But enough of me talking about the customers or customer success. It's my pleasure to welcome Javier Echevarria, who is the Chief Financial Officer of Heathrow Airport. Javier.
Heathrow. Holy cow. Javier Echavay. Echavay? I would say Echavay, but
So Javier, I mean, Heathrow Airport probably needs no introduction, and people have either probably.
that would, to say the least.
But maybe you give your background in the organization and some statistics that people may not be aware of with Heathrow.
Great. Well, it's fantastic to be here, and I can tell you, Steve, you have been today much more successful filling this place than myself, trying to fill terminals over the last 2 years. So next time, rather than sitting here, come to London, please. So obviously, Heathrow is the only hub airport in the largest aviation market in the world. But more importantly, we are the gateway of the UK to global growth. UK, huge economy, fifth largest.
I got to say, it's actually one of the airports I like.
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
only been there twice.
40%
I genuinely like it.
by value come out of Heathrow.
Like, what's your favorite airport?
Of all airports?
Yeah.
Wow, that is a big, good question. See, when it comes to baggage handling, it's Heathrow without a doubt. By far the best.
So obviously, operationally,
Brian's here. Want to get him in?
Yeah.
we operate the two
Come on over, sir.
runways in the world. We partner with multi airlines.
Kim must have gone and gotten him.
All seats, 400
Okay, well, okay.
working for a single purpose.
Actually, well, okay.
Okay, hold on. Got to figure
Yeah,
this
let's
out.
do that. Do that.
This is good. It's live and authentic. We're trying to figure out how to get you mic. Okay, I can move this out of the way. We got to make sure you're in camera too, though.
Why don't we do this? Why don't he sit here?
Okay, can you?
No, let's, like you sat out yesterday, I'll sit out.
Okay. Okay, Brian, come on over.
Take a snack.
Okay, get the mic on and we're all set to roll. So while you're getting set up, we have Brian Summer here. And Brian, for those who don't know him, well, actually, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't know him. So I will suffice to say, Brian is leading enterprise analyst, one of the decades of experience, incredibly deep knowledge, and at the same time, one of the world's most remarkable storytellers. So, Brian, I don't know, Ed, hey Brent, it's gone out of focus. It's gone out of focus of the camera for some reason. Just, I don't know.
But
Can you mess with it?
I've never looked better.
So just use the focus. Bring it back into focus with the focus ring. This is what we don't mind these things. Part of our thing. Staying completely out of focus. No, that's the Zoom.
There you go.
Okay, got it. We're good. No, it looks good. Both. Yeah, we're good. So Brian, regardless of this specific thing, what's your overall thinking on what you've seen so far on these applications?
Well, I think we're at an interesting time in the software market because the usual conferences, vendors kind of saved up a year or 18 months worth of goodness that they were going to roll into a product and then dropped it all on you with a dump truck at the user conference. And I know you're thinking like, where does he come up with this language?
I do. I always think that.
But what we're hearing is, these guys are slipstreaming in a whole bunch of new advanced technologies underneath a whole pile of products. Their real focus is on extending end-to-end process kind of knowledge, and they want to drop all those advanced technologies, all the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, the big data, everything else. They're throwing it all in there, and they're not going to dump it all at once anymore. So, to some extent, some people might be listening to this and be feeling a little bit underwhelmed because we're not hearing the, like super colossal giant, news. But on the other hand, I think you're missing the bigger point, realizing that structurally the market is changed, and how you digest, consume, and everything else, software's changed, and the implications are going to be profound on all your business processes all the time going forward.
So do you see Oracle itself as the company itself, not just the general, let's say, the competitive market, but do you see these as let's get this into the flow because we need to get it into the flow, or these are genuine, valuable, and I realize it'll be uneven here, but genuine, valuable, and useful advances that we're able to add to the flow as it's evolving?
They're quite real kinds of things, and you're going to want them. And in fact, I had a conversation with Mr. Miranda here in the hall. I know he's talking on the other screen as we speak. Steve and I asked him a question. I go, when people first bought packages, they bought them because they were trying to achieve some immediate process efficiencies and improved effectiveness. Then as time wore on, they've realized and computing power increased, they were able to extend that to the entirety of the organization. So we had shared service organizations crop up, and we got more productivity savings and efficiencies. Now you got like guys like Oracle who want to extend to all the far ends of what constitutes a process, and that creates another round of new efficiencies that you can get a hold of. So my question to Steve is, I'm thinking like 5 chess moves ahead here.
Okay.
Is what happens to shared service organizations? Because if all of this stuff goes in the cloud, all of the smart technology comes in there and takes care of everything for you automatically through RPA and other technologies, then all that's left is you need a few experts who can handle the anomalous transactions that pop up. And is that what shared service becomes? It's just a collection of a few smart experts who handle the odd and end stuff instead of the big efficiency
So
problems.
basically a collection of exceptions.
Right.
Right.
As opposed to a giant factory that just crunched transactions.
Okay, well actually that goes to one of the early customer stories. Brent and I were kind of marveling over the fact that JP Morgan was handling, was it 10 trillion transactions a year or something like that? That's the number they used, which is, I don't even know how to process that number in terms of transactions. And again, I don't deal with that typically in what we're doing. We're operating on a more right brain focus. So,
well, that kind of reminds me. So I was having a conversation one night, eons ago. I was helping a neighbor rebuild a car engine, and he posed a question to me. He goes, "You want to know how you drive a person crazy?" And I go, "How's that?" "Well, you give him $1 billion, and you tell him he has to spend it all in the next like 30 days." Now I know today $1 billion doesn't go as far as it used to.
Right.
You know, I'm still waiting for that decacorn kind of valuation for my own business, but you know. But the point still, you're talking about trillions, and you are talking about a number that is almost beyond the ability of a normal mind to actually get their head around. I mean, we can all put it in scientific notation, but it's still kind of an abstract term for us. And yeah, the volumes are just absolutely astounding.
I don't even understand how you deal with, I don't want to call it complexity because that word gets used, like overused in our universe. I mean, it is complex, but I think by now we all kind of get that. But how you deal with just the sheer volume and number as they're happening. And you're processing all of that so that it all works, because ultimately that individual, that 10 trillion transactions, each one of them is applied to something specific, right? It goes somewhere, it comes from somewhere, it goes to something or someone, meaning and yet you're effectively taking this mass. It's like, for example, to your usual analogy, let's put it this way: if I'm seeing a tsunami rush at me, I'm not getting a glass. I don't think the right idea is to get a glass out so I can figure which part of the tsunami I can drink, right? I got to start thinking in different terms, and I don't know how to think about it, honestly.
And yet I would tell you that what you're describing creates a forest for the trees problem in IT.
Okay.
And that the real reason companies want to take advantage of these advanced technologies is that they need tools that basically help them tell them what it is I don't need to worry about.
Okay, fair enough.
And like, for example, you know, I know a bunch of the analysts here, they know that I think they take perverse pleasure in tracking where I fly and all the problems I have with it. So what I really wish is that airlines actually thought about not so much every little like tweet or whatever, but they ought to notice things like, okay, clearly Brian's having a tough day here today, and while he's stuck sitting on a plane that's not going anywhere, maybe we ought to be actually trying to find him an alternative routing so he can get home or get to the event or whatever. And instead they're focused on stuff like, you know, let's just send him a bunch of pointless messages that irritate and piss him off.
I get those.
Anyway, but back to the volumes, you know, this is what's really behind a lot of the Internet 4.0, or the Factory of the Future, the industrial IoT, and you know, and the manufacturing 4.0 kind of world. where we've got sensors everywhere throwing
Yeah.
off all this information, but very little of it actually is anything that we care about. It's a lot of sensors reporting status as normal.
Right.
So we have to think about that in terms of how that applies to, the old school kind of business transactions, whether they're finance, accounting, CRM, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of noise in the channel,
Yep.
and that's what people aren't comfortable with yet, because they haven't thought about noise in an accounting perspective.
Right.
How about that?
Fair enough. That's actually really interesting.
In fact, I gave a keynote a couple of years ago, just before the pandemic, on big data and accounting.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, the people in that audience thought I was talking about something that it was making them as uncomfortable as you or me wearing a cheap suit. I mean, they were really bothered by how, why? Because big data's it's not perfect from the accounting perspective.
Right.
It's got, like I said, it's got noise, it's got issues with it, and I'm telling, I can tell you what much better way to predict your company's financial numbers. If you're in like the hospitality industry, I want to see what's changing on your TripAdvisor scores, your ratings, because a 1-star change can trigger a 12.5% movement in your revenue numbers.
Wow.
Okay, and they're like having apoplexy over stats like that because, well, it's not audited or it's whatever. And I'm going, I don't care as a business person. I don't care about that. I care about what is it telling me, and that's the real business value there. Not does it pass some GAAP or IFRS or whatever kind of standard. Anyway, sorry.
I
to
got
ramble
one.
on.
No, that's important. Look, I have one last question though, and this. So when was the last time you came to? Then it was still open world. When was the last time you came prior to this one? 3-4 years ago.
It would have had it. No, it probably would have been like 2019 or whatever the last big one they had.
So what have you seen in Oracle's, good or bad, in Oracle's evolution from then to now?
Doctors, nurses.
I think probably what's interesting to me is
Vacations.
they had done a deal to buy Micros. Remember them?
Yeah, of course.
And I thought, well, that's interesting because here's a lot of big data coming off of those point of sale devices. And I was wondering, are they going to be tying that in with like their CRM solutions and the like? That was my first thought. That first thought was way too uninformed. It would have been the first thought of a lesser grade analyst. How about that?
Way
You
to
would have.
go.
You know where I'm going because
Way to
you're not one of
go.
those. Okay.
You could have called me. That would be okay with it.
No, but where I'm going with this is. But since then, that really was that was more than just like a retail or a hardware play.
Right.
It was the beginning of a huge shift of focus for them to go into other sectors like the Cerner deal in healthcare and so forth.
Ecosystem.
Yeah, and I know they like talking about that ecosystem deal, but that's not going to be necessarily the end of it either.
Right. Absolutely agree.
And I think we're seeing them move, once they get the ecosystem and all these other pieces in there, then you're going to see them shift to being not a database company anymore, not an apps company, but they are going to be it's clear, they're going to be a data broker is what they're going to be all about. And that's the future of the company.
Thank you, sir. You are awesome as always. And I'll tell you what, if you're up with this, Brent and I will work out a time where we can bring you on a regular episode of CRM Players. You up for that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd almost prefer to actually be in a room with you guys and talk about this sometime, even a Zoom deal, other than just send a little snarky messages in on the
That's okay.
the chat.
No, you're on. You're
All right.
on. All right. Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it. Thank you much.
You're the best.
All right.
All right. Okay.
Give it back to
You can just give it to me.
Oh.
We have our cavalcade.
All right.
Using artificial intelligence.
What's the best way to get? We gonna do self-serve.
I can step away from this one
Do this, and then if John Reed comes in, I'll hang out with John.
with Kevin.
No, you can- With John Reed comes, I'll hang out.
Okay.
Kevin said he needs 5 minutes to replay everything I said.
Okay.
Again, these are just small examples.
All right. Hold on. Give me 1 second, and then we're ready to roll.
And in this CX area, our
Okay.
Just take your time.
Checking the.
Oh yeah.
All right.
We're gonna have you sit right there.
the process of lead generation. So we have tremendous Salesforce automation, service, marketing tools.
All right.
If you keep with that theme,
You ready, Kevin?
we can take small silos
Gotcha.
and automate
You got it.
end to end.
All right. Just put it up a rough speed here, and I'll do it.
And you know they have
Right here, roughly.
the market.
Hello there, sir.
Hi.
How are you, Kevin?
Hey, you're doing well.
So listen, before we get into what I want to ask you, why don't you talk about yourself a little bit, introduce yourself to the people listening.
Kevin Permenter, where am I looking? At camera here?
Yeah, don't worry about it. We don't care. We're
Kevin
good.
Kevin Permenter, Research Director at IDC. My coverage area is financial applications. So that's everything from like your small business accounting apps on to the big financial suites like Oracle and SAP, and then into the point solution areas like accounts payable, accounts receivable, tax, treasury, expense.
So you literally cover everything I don't completely understand at all. Right.
It's all the boring accounting stuff.
No, that's actually so important, though. But I
Very
really
important stuff now.
don't understand. My father was an accountant, and I still don't understand it well.
Yeah, well, neither do I. I took a lot of classes. And I'm still struggling with it too.
From what I hear, you're damn good at it. So all right. So let's look at this. Don't worry too much about the app speech per se. We'll get to that. Talk a little more about given you've been here. I guess you've been here now the full 2-3 days, and 3 days. What's your thinking on where Oracle's been in, let's say, last time around 2019 to now?
Yeah.
What have you seen, good and bad, in terms of their evolution?
So the good part, I think they have a much more cohesive and believable and sort of robust story around the end-to-end solution. The idea that the new OCI pairs with the apps platform, pairs with the actual applications on the platform. All of that stuff now is a much tighter story. There's more heft to it in terms of investment. Millions of dollars have gone into flushing out that story and having the end users really be impacted by that sort of end-to-end aspect. So Steve's up there right now and he's talking about some of the use cases around that kind of thing, and I think now, as opposed to 2019, you see a lot of it in practice. A lot of it is here now, and we had some customer discussions.
Yep.
And they're starting to see some of the benefits of this sort of togetherness in actual practice.
Okay, well, actually, it's something you can help me with now that I think of it. So when early when Steve began, he was talking about with J.P. Morgan, and J.P. Morgan guy mentioned that they deal with 10 trillion transactions a year, and I can't get my head around that at all. I literally have no way to conceptualize that I can understand in any fashion. How do you even think about that level of transactional activity?
It is rarefied air, right? There are just not many organizations that have to deal with that level of activity. And just think about, there's that level of activity, but think of all the multi aspects underneath it. So multi-language, multi-currency, multi-country, right? Multi-entity. More than one entity in an organization may be, doing some transactions. So when you start thinking about the complexity here, it really sort of narrows the race to, folks like Oracle, maybe 2 or 3 others that have the sort of heft.
Who else would you call the 2 or 3 others in that manner?
SAP has for a long time been involved in some really complex areas. And then you get into sort of the, on the HCM side, for example, Workday has long been part of some very complex, very meaty sort of environments. Those are sort of the players now that are sort of hovering around these sort of complex implementations, and those are typically when you come down to it, 3 of the 3 out of you go down to your last 3, it's probably those names that you'll see most often.
That's amazing.
Unless you get into some of the the specialty industries, and then you see other names pop in because they have some in-depth specialization kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I see that more around rather than, let's say, accounting or financial or banking. I see them more around like, well, you get to some of these players, although they're not typically the scale level, wealth management, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Which have specialty applications. There's even a company out of Canada called NextJ, which came in as wealth management CRM.
Yeah, how about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure how that actually
One of the
even
things
works.
I've been really sort of lucky to be exposed to is there's so many really interesting niches where you run into a situation like, I'm a Florida guy, we talk about oranges. Well, if you're an orange farmer, the same orange might go into juice, it might go into, as is into the market, or it may end up in a candle as some sort of fragrance or essence or whatever. It may end up in some sort of perfume. So the same tree may have oranges that end up in 15 different products. And you start talking about the accounting aspect of those sorts of things, it really does start to get complex.
I again,
Yeah.
well beyond my brain.
Yeah, and there's one more that's really interesting: the horse breeding world, because horses themselves can be considered as when it comes to accounting, they can be considered corporations. So people buy shares of a racehorse, because it's who's going to buy an entire one, right?
Right.
So it's really some of these organizations like Oracle and some of the other ones, they're really presented with some really interesting challenges.
All right, so if you right now are looking at Oracle and
Yeah.
everything we've seen, and you're looking at let's say your entire history with Oracle,
Yeah.
what advice are you giving Oracle to improve? What do they got to do?
I don't think Oracle has an issue with its product necessarily. The depth and breadth of functionality, I think, isn't necessarily the issue. I think the issue comes in sort of how to balance the story that's being told around this product, and saying, okay, we have a hardware infrastructure story, we've got an app platform story, we have a specialty app story, both ERP and HCM and all this stuff. How do you sort of educate the market on the benefits and the synergies that are available when they themselves are learning about some of the synergies, on the fly? Many of their customers are taking, sort of the infrastructure, the OCI infrastructure, and some of the, the app building tools that they have, and they're coming up with new ways to recombine, and sort of, go around certain specific use cases. So it's a difficult story for them to tell.
Okay.
They've been getting better over time, but I do think ultimately they have to tell that story, and they have to lead, and this is me being, sort of selfish, but I think they have to lead with accounting. They have to lead with where the rubber meets the road.
Well, and look, one of their history is deep. Look, let's put it this way: what's the job everyone wanted in the '90s? Oracle DBA.
Yeah,
right? That was it.
exactly.
I mean,
right.
I ran an Oracle. Or I ran a company. I ran a
Right.
series of practices,
Right.
of which one of them was 150 Oracle DBA.
Right.
Right. And believe me, back then we weren't paying anywhere near what a DBA would make now, but we were still paying pretty well.
That's right.
And it was a job that I didn't care. If you went to PeopleSoft ERP, we still needed those Oracle DBAs.
right.
So
That's
to
right.
your point, down and dirty, right at the level of the ground, man.
Yeah.
Sitting on it.
Yeah, and then and what you get there is that that's where these higher level concepts like resiliency and agility, that's where they start.
Yeah.
You know, take it from a guy with a bad knee. It's all about your foundation, right? It's all about your footwork. You can't throw the ball, accurately if you don't have your foundation
take my
together,
word,
right?
totally get that.
So it's a similar sort of thing. It's where the rubber meets the road, is where they have to show all the investment that they've done. And I've been talking with some of the product leadership. They've done massive amounts of investment in that sort of core accounting space. And I just think they need to tell that story a lot better.
Okay, now I got one last question for
Sure.
you. Who were one or two of your favorite people at Oracle? Just who are they and why are they your favorites? Again, they don't have to be your only ones. I don't
Sure.
want to diminish the rest of them. But one or two you're really happy when you see them.
Yeah. Kim Jacobson.
Okay.
She's our AR person.
Okay.
And
why? What is it about her?
So she's really good at her job. That's first.
Okay.
But she's also one of the people that is so positive about sort of her company. She's excited about her product and where they're going with it. So in my mind, she's a great ambassador for it. So not only does she do a good job herding the cats, when it comes to analyst relations, right?
A lot of
but
that.
she actually, strongly believes in the direction of the company. So that's
One more.
One more. So I've had a chance to speak with Steve Miranda, and I find that he's very sort of relatable.
Yes.
He's somebody that can take very complex, sort of topics and break them down and show you how Oracle is, sort of positioned in some of these very intricate areas. I think he's one of the best, sort of product leaders in the game right now.
I absolutely agree with you on that. I don't know Kim Jacobson, but we have for the independent
guys, everybody has their own
we have a
AR
different
person.
Kim.
Yeah.
Actually, it's Kim Guillen, who
Yeah.
we've already sat and praised.
Yeah. Now, honorable mention,
Okay.
Rondi Ng,
Okay.
because Rondi has the job of, sitting on top of the massive application space or ERP space,
Okay.
and sort of shaping and molding the ecosystem and the product direction for ERP. And I really feel that the ERP itself for Oracle has been an engine for innovation,
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
engine for growth.
Yes.
And the cloud ERP is really pushing the whole company forward. So honorable mention for Rondi
All
as
right.
well.
Well, thank you, sir. Look, I'm just meeting you, really. So
Yeah, yeah.
I met you briefly once, but
Yeah.
you're a good man.
Yeah, and look,
You want to talk
I'm
about
also,
relatable, you do.
Listen, I'm also a Cowboy fan,
Well,
so
that's- I'm
it's,
sorry for it. I mean, I'm a Giants fan.
It's been rough.
Well, no, you weren't. This year, not bad. Cooper Rush. Well, he's not bad.
Yeah, we'll see, right?
Gotta give it to him.
I do sort of, gain a lot of my patience from being a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Well,
It's been about
again,
20 years.
I'm a New York Giants fan, so I mean, we won. Look, we did win a couple of Super Bowls not that
Yeah.
long ago, but still a decade.
Yeah.
But we have been the worst team in the NFL until this year for the last
Giants
5
are
years.
killing it now, huh?
This is it's funny. At the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
when the regime had turned over, all of us. I talked to lots of Giants fans,
Sure.
and all of us thought this may be good. We didn't think the
we go.
Giants would
There
be
we go.
5-1.
5-1.
But
Wow.
and not only that, they're beating good teams.
Saquon Barkley still has his
Well,
legs.
that's why I like it the most. I love that guy.
He still got his legs
and
moving.
he's a class act kid.
They're not in the cast?
No, and when he's good, he's
Yeah, he's
great.
special. Listen, he's on my fantasy team this week 7. I'm trying to win. Saquon, if you're listening,
222 yards.
222 yards, 2 touchdowns. It sounds about right.
Yeah, okay, we're in. Okay, I will transmit the message. One of my good friends is the VP of Business Intelligence and Analytics
Yeah.
for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
So I will tell him, do the work, and guarantee Saquon 200. You're doing business intelligence and analytics, okay? Do the analytics, tell Saquon his game plan, and let him run.
Awesome. Hey,
All right, my
I had
friend.
fun.
I'm a hugger, so you
Oh,
have
hey,
to
come
see how
on,
you
bring it
are.
in,
All
bring it
right.
in, bring it in. Hey, and good luck. Good luck with your Yankees tonight, right?
Yeah, well, let me
What-
show you this right now.
Oh no, what's
They
happening?
just scored. The Yankees just scored. Oh, wow.
What's the score?
Cool, 1-0 Yankees. It's only
There
second
we go.
inning.
One nothing.
I think
lot of
you are
fun.
good luck, man.
Oh yeah.
In fact,
Oh
yeah.
Yep,
I was
yep.
going to say, just sit until the game's over.
I'm
Yankees
not that
are up
good of luck.
1-0.
They scored while you guys were talking.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Oh, Harrison Bader, you know that new guy? He hit his 4th homer of the playoffs. I love this guy.
Is Stanton playing?
Yeah, he walloped one yesterday to beat the Guardians. He's awesome. Thank you, sir. All right. Time for me to swap out. Okay, Mr. Reed. Yes, sir.
And all that stuff.
All right, you want to? Okay.
Which one? Okay.
This is the one for this chair. Let me get all this.
Check 1, check 2.
And by the way, if you go overseas,
Brett, you need some coaching tips with interviewing this guy. You want some feedstock material to hit him?
The worst thing is that Dr. Pepper doesn't even work on me.
They don't even have Dr. That's a negative, right? No Dr. Pepper.
If you have Dr. Pepper, you can calm Brian down, but you can't calm me down. I don't drink it.
Really, that works as a what do you call it?
Yeah. Just have a couple of those handy, and he'll chill right out, man.
you know, where would you guide us to help you?
The smart vendors have like 6-packs ready because they don't want to deal with his questions.
So I think this concept of
This is the kind of stuff we get on the road, man. You can't.
Oh, he just showed me the slide deck.
Oh, he showed you the deck.
He did show me the deck.
I'm gonna wear bifocals.
You got some tries in there?
we now have an opportunity. Like the cloud is behind us,
So,
which is
Brett,
fantastic.
make sure you ask him about this atomic leadership.
Atomic leadership.
Atomic leadership.
You got to get that in there.
Atomic leadership.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That they would come to the brand that JP Morgan Chase lives each day you have. So clearly we want to keep
You
this
got the mic on?
keep staying
No, what do you want me to
Where is the mic? There it is. There you go.
Let me give you a tip for running up projects
So,
successfully.
yeah, they're still. I think they're coming up into the home stretch here.
In the CHRO,
We're 58 minutes in.
Yeah. Is that about right? Can't really see it too good.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You're good. All right.
Levels. The mass bandit.
The man is here. The notorious. What do we used to call you? I don't
Bad
call-
boy of ERP.
The bad boy ERP. But didn't he give you some really crazy?
Oh, Brohammer.
the bro.
That was my favorite.
The
I like
Brohammer.
the Brohammer.
Yes. Mr. John Reed, co-founder of Diginomica, the bad boy of whatever it was.
Are we live?
We're live, man. Look.
Oh man,
See,
this
look.
is live
See,
without
this
a
is,
net.
This is streaming.
Yeah,
we're on
indeed.
StreamYard, and then we're on the side
Okay.
here. That's what the people are seeing, and
Okay.
then that's just recording. And
All right.
and we're don't look up there because there's a little lag.
I won't look up there.
See, he's already like, all right, dude,
So
give
what
me
do you
your
wanna talk
impressions,
about?
man. Give me your impressions of what you've seen so far during this conference.
Well, so Oracle is really going all out to try to create sort of a customer-focused view of cloud in the large enterprise. So they are slamming us with customer examples left and right. The Saffircast keynote that opened the conference
Yep.
was just a parade of friggin' customers across industries and stuff.
Yep.
And for those who watch Oracle, they've never done a keynote like that, ever. Whether you like the keynote or not, they never did it before. There wasn't really even much Oracle branding in that keynote as far as like the usual like
It was
logos.
very relaxed, conversational.
Yep. And what they're trying to get across is that they've reached critical mass of customers in the cloud, running cloud applications. And they're also tying in their Oracle Cloud infrastructure story because Oracle is very conscious of providing their customers an infrastructure choice and connecting the dots there.
Yep.
And that's actually really important because this didn't get a lot of discussion at the conference, but there are a lot of Oracle customers on older releases.
Oh yeah.
And those folks aren't necessarily going to move to Fusion tomorrow. So Oracle Cloud Infrastructure OCI
Yep.
is emerging as an option where they can start looking at some cloud services, start looking at modernization without like doing the whole friggin' thing.
Yeah.
So that becomes important. So what Oracle's trying to do is just tell a story of how how they've been able to serve customers at a scale that you just don't see in large enterprise ERP. You see it in the mid-market. There's a lot of exciting ERP cloud companies in the mid-market. You don't see as much in large enterprise. They're trying to tell the story. So when they go on stage today, like in Steve Miranda's keynote just now, that we're talking over, and they talk about things like the payment service connectors with JP Morgan and the logistical connectors with FedEx. They're talking about doing things with ERP that historically you couldn't do. And I know because I'm Johnny ERP. So like if anyone knows, it's me. In the past you couldn't do that stuff.
Right.
And now you can, and that's the case they're trying to make, is we can do that stuff, but by the way, we're not the sort of the mean bully that we used to be. They're trying to change their image around customer centricity, which is a big change for them, the way they've been perceived in the market.
Absolutely. You know what? This ended, so we're getting rid of this guy, and we're going to the full screen, and we're getting rid of the music. All right, there we go.
All right.
So now we're just talking. It's just us.
You
All
and
right.
me, post game.
We made it to the end, man.
We did it, man. We did it. We done it.
All right. So what, did you like the new approach?
I do.
Okay.
I do like the new approach. I think there's a lot of sincerity behind it on the part of Oracle leadership. I've talked a lot with Steve Miranda in particular about what they're trying to do with this. But the thing that everyone has to understand, including Oracle, is that there's a long journey ahead, and you don't change those kinds of things overnight. There's reasons why those perceptions came to pass. But part of what you're trying to do now is just help companies understand that there's so much more to build a business case around cloud, because there's a lot of disillusionment building up around the cost of cloud, and that it's not some magic potion that you just lift everything there and everything is great. And so what Oracle's trying to do is say, well, take another look here, because this is not just moving applications around. This is about like changing the user experience. This is about partners building apps on your platform. This is all this stuff. So one thing that might interest your viewers, I don't know, is I had some very frank talks with Oracle around the future of CX.
Okay.
And so this is another piece of the puzzle as far as like an Oracle that's willing to be more transparent around the challenges that they're facing, because historically I wasn't able to get Oracle talking about stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, and it's an important story because there was a lot of sensational reporting in the summer.
Oh, when
I'm
they
sure
when
you
they had
saw
the
that.
layoffs and
Yep.
sure.
Yep. And it caused some people to think, well, Oracle's just jumping ship on CX.
That was like the knee jerk reaction, right?
And a lot of us knew people who were affected.
Yeah, of course, and it seemed like CX advertising took the biggest hit.
Right.
So of course when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, oh, it feels like maybe they're shifting away,
right?
De-emphasizing. But it sounds like that's what one of the things you were asking about.
I really wanted to understand it better, and I mean, I don't want to do like too much of a shameless plug for Diginomica, but one of the things we're trying to do is to help our audience like understand the context behind these things, because there's such a temptation to freak out about them, like
the knee jerk.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of page views to be had when you can say, oh my God, Oracle's killed CX, and let's get some page views, and our business is full of that right now. And look, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is hunky-dory and wonderful, because a lot of people were impacted by that, and these things are hard. And the thing that I think we should all accept is that we're not in a real happy economy right now, and a lot of vendors are making difficult choices.
I think this week, at least a couple of them.
Yep, there was another Microsoft headline about 1,000 people.
Salesforce let some folks on.
So this stuff's not easy, but I think the thing to understand about what Oracle is doing here is that, and I talked to one customer in depth about this, the Red Bull Formula One CMO was here.
Right.
And they're fully on the CX stack, and so I thought, oh, this is a good guy to ask about the future of CX, because he's like all in, and he's all enthused. He's talking about being an early adopter. So one of the things Oracle is doing in CX is they're investing a lot in sort of next gen stuff. So they had some customer data platform news at this show. They're not backing away from that. They're investing in this. They have this crowd twist fan engagement thing.
Oh, right.
That,
Yeah.
that the Formula One Red Bull guy's
Yeah.
all excited about.
Right.
He's like, this is like changing how we relate to her. So Oracle's investing in CX in a couple ways. I think they're trying to invest in cutting edge stuff. They're trying to invest in data backbone. And this all ties into what they talk about a lot, which is this end-to-end process enterprise. They want to connect the front end to the back end.
Right.
And I think that's a really good argument for CX as far as like, well, I mean, you've probably been there, we've all been there, where CX is great until our package has not arrived that we were going to give to our mom for Mother's Day that night, and
Right.
it's not there. And where is it? And we don't know, and the customer service people don't know. And you're like, wow, there's actually so much that we can't see that historically has been lost in silos and stuff. And Oracle wants to sort of connect those dots. So I see Oracle as not so much abandoning CX, but looking more at what do their customers need most
Right.
around that to connect the dots, so to
Right.
speak. Now, I think where I think the questions remain, and where I had a little bit, and I published a piece on this today, so if anyone wants to see more of the quotes on that, they can. But I think like the thing that I don't know exactly, because this is where Oracle is a little more cautious, is around best of breed stuff. So in other words, like going up against Salesforce or Adobe, chasing customers on CX that are not Oracle customers.
Right.
How will that go in the future? That part I don't know so much, but as far as customers who were invested in Oracle's products, it doesn't look like there's like any kind of really tough times ahead for them, because it looks like Oracle is definitely like not backing down from that. But I do think there's a little bit of a difference. I make a distinction in my mind between serving your customers versus going out and trying to win customers. And we see this all over the place, like where software vendors will roll out functionality, but you think, well, maybe that wouldn't stack up against what you would sign, like a customer that had none of your other products. Maybe they wouldn't like that product. Or Oracle's a little reluctant to say, and I understand why, they don't want to back down from that, but I feel like what I can say is they're really refocusing on what their customers need, the customers that are already invested in them. So that's the impression that I'm getting.
Is that, I mean, you go to a lot of events, you deal with a lot of the big enterprise. Is that a theme that a lot of these bigger companies are doing? Kind of trying to get as much of the business from their current customers and provide them with more and more, as opposed to, spending a lot of their efforts trying to bring on new customers?
That's a good question. I mean, I think every vendor wants to sign like net new companies that have high growth potential, because it's great to grow with a company and see it become like a big ass company and it was on your product, and so that kind of stuff is cool. But there's definitely, I think, a lot of what vendors call land and expand strategies, where hey, they like this, let's go sell them some more of that.
Right.
Now, I had a talk with a vendor about this the other day, because they were talking about this. They wanted to publish an article around it, and I said, well, customers don't really like the term land and expand, because they feel kind of being invaded. It's got almost like a militaristic feel. It's like, wait, like you set up boot camp in my procurement department, and now we're issuing purchase orders all the time. So I think from a customer standpoint, I look at it more like that what you want enterprise software to be like is software that you like to use, that you enjoy using, that helps you to do your job better, that isn't just something that is so difficult to deal with. And if you like it, and then the vendor wants to give you more of that, then I think that is fair game, and that's your job, is to earn your customers' trust and respect. The only thing I would add to that is I think it is really important to acknowledge that partners have to play a role in that, and that was one of the big announcements at this conference, was around Oracle opening up its apps platform and its Redwood UI interface, because the idea is partners want to build stuff, and a lot of times, let's be honest, some of the partners out there have better ideas for like niche things than the vendor does, because they know that particular
That's where they
area.
live.
Right.
So
they want to build some cool stuff, but they want it to look like everything else. They don't want it to look like some, abandoned orphan of the, they want it to look like the rest of everything else. So that's kind of what Oracle's trying to do. So the only thing I would say that I think is a little bit different is that like now we think about it more like we want our customer to choose our platform, not necessarily all of our software.
Right.
But we want them to say, you know what, in Oracle's case, Oracle's our go-to platform. So we might plug in different pieces sometimes. And by the way, Oracle better play nice with the stuff.
Other things that we depend on.
Right. And partners can build and we can build, but I think that's kind of like the new sort of ideal for the enterprise. But there's still too much lock-in in our world. It's still too hard for customers to move from one product to another. But, what can we do about that at what, 5 o'clock on a Thursday when we're both
after 3 days
needing some sleep and a lot of caffeine to keep going? We can't really fix that today.
All right. So one last thing. You have been chronicling the hybrid kind of conference.
Oh, yeah.
So we're getting close to the end of the year, right? I mean, I don't know how many more you have to do, but how would you grade the industry, generally speaking, this year?
Okay, so I would say up until this fall event season, I would say F.
Wow.
And I think I'm an advocate for radical inclusion of events, because I believe that a lot of people that can't get to events for whatever reason should be included and are part of who a vendor would want to reach. So I evaluate hybrid in that capacity. Like, if I'm not at the event, can I properly engage with the event? This fall, I saw a big marked improvement in the commitment of vendors to making that happen. Right now in the background, we have Oracle TV on. A lot of that stuff is accessible, like not only on Oracle's platform, but streaming in various places.
Right.
And that's a really nice way of starting to make it possible. And you even have like studio hosts, and we were talking, we were sort of grading them earlier. I'm not going to do that now, but the point is, like, it's great that they're giving it that real go, because there's this, like, vendors have been so afraid that, like, oh my God, if we put on a show like this, people won't come. But I think that's wrong, because I think the people that are willing to put up with air travel and possibilities of COVID or whatever, the people that are willing to come, they're going to come because they want it. I came because I want to hang out with you. I can't do that at home.
Right.
That to me, this is gold. Like, so
well, that's the sentiment I hear most. People are just glad to be back.
Right.
To be doing this in person.
Right, but let's be honest, Brett. You're not going to go to every event you get an invite for. But wouldn't you like to sort of keep a little better track of what's going on?
Right.
You would, and we're. So I'll give vendors a C- now, and why a C-? Well, part of it is they're still figuring out how to do the Oracle TV or the Salesforce TV, whatever it is. Yeah. But a big part of it is that they haven't figured out how to engage the people that really want to interact and not just passively consume content. And I came to understand that that's only a smaller percentage of people. Because a lot of people sitting at home, they don't have the time or interest in like an interactive experience. They just want to catch a little bit of keynote fodder. Yeah. But then there are people that are really bummed not to be here that would love to have a chance to interact, to ask questions at a press conference, to be part of a customer roundtable discussion. And what my argument to vendors is, like, let's make that possible. Like it's going to take a little work, but we can baby step our way there. But by the way, you can charge for that. And if you don't charge for that, you can certainly get some friggin' awesome lead generation out of it. Because a lot of people that want to watch your keynotes are never going to be leads. And so putting your keynotes behind registration walls and stuff is asking for technical problems and stuff, which we've seen. But if you want to engage in that hybrid experience and talk with product managers and while you're off-site and like have interactions with people at the show, that's lead gen type of person. Those are people who are really invested in your product. Mm-hmm. And that's the missing piece from hybrid right now. It's all about passive broadcast consumption. But I got to give vendors much better grade now because it's way the hell better than it has been. So I don't want to discourage them, but there's still work ahead, but they've made some progress.
Well, that's good. That's pretty good improvement from pre-fall to where we are now.
It is. I mean, if you go into the Oracle event login, you can toggle like between, like, you can see which events are live streaming, Some of these setups will show you which ones are available for replay after.
Okay.
There's way more opportunities to package this content up afterwards.
Yeah,
And you're someone who's a pro at that. They should honestly talk with you about this and get your input, because you're someone who you acquire all this video content, and then your job is to figure out, well, how do we get this out there, because we have this archive? Can I create highlight reels? Can I edit down some clips?
Little
Can
clips,
how do I do that? Like, that's the other part they have to figure out.
And the good thing about it is this stuff, for the most part, the conference is over tomorrow, but the content can live on.
Right.
And like you said, make it accessible to broad audiences, not just, use it as the traditional lead gen, but, open it up.
Absolutely. I think we can have the best of both worlds, but I think we still have to get over some fears that, look, it's like there's not a bunch of fence sitters. It's a little bit like American politics. There's not very many people that are just, I'll go either way. People have kind of picked sides.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true with events. Like, if they want to get on a plane, they're friggin' going to get on a plane. And if they don't, they're going to be left out. So why wouldn't you want to include them for whatever reason they can't be there? There's this idea, I think, in people's heads also that, like, well, if they didn't make it to my event, they're not a blue chip, they're not an A-list type of customer person. That's just not right. Life is life.
Some things happen. Sometimes
life is life.
Can't.
Budgets, health,
Right.
Location.
Right. Or life. Like you said, it's just life.
It is.
But the cool thing is, don't let life get in the way of them viewing and having an experience of the content that gets created. Even if it is created at a conference, maybe the conference ends, but the content doesn't have to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. This is cool, man.
Great shit.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Good to see you, man. And I guess we'll.
Hi to the virtual peeps.
Yeah, that's right. We'll actually, I guess I better bring in Mr. Greenberg so we can do the traditional
do the wrap? All right, man. Enjoyed it.
Oh, get the mic first.
Oh, yeah. I guess I got to get rid of the
we wouldn't want to have any, Mr. Greenberg, we're ready to sign off. All righty. All right, so it's over. The keynote is over.
Oh, I saw that.
So we're ready to wrap it up.
How did this happen? We're on opposite sides. How did that happen?
You'll have to watch the full hour and 18 minutes to find out.
That's right. Wait till the end. It's like a TikTok video.
By the way,
till the
any
end.
Yankees update?
1-1.
Ooh.
They tied it.
So I know we're going to make this quick.
I need to have Kevin come back
Oh, that's where.
so we can win.
Anyway, quick last thoughts for the day.
Well, I mean, again, I guess if I'm really viewing it without my, let's say, favorite takeaways that we've talked about multiple times on, eyebrows and cake. Ultimately, what really impressed me overall with the conference is that Oracle has both solidified and extended their platform and ecosystems perspective in a way that it's no longer fragmentary, which it used to be with ecosystem. It's now that they're thinking not just in terms of strategic industry kind of specific ecosystem, but their overall end-to-end ecosystem. And that's become an absolute deep part of their thinking, practice, and execution.
I also like that encompassed in that is the design experience and creating this ability for their partners to not only build their own apps and integrate with Oracle apps, but to do so with the design and the user interface that allows them to create apps that'll look like the Oracle apps that people are using.
And once again, kudos to our friends.
That's right.
Hillel Cooperman, Jenny Lamb, and the team.
The dynamic duo of design.
Yep, two of the best.
All right. This trip to Vegas was good.
Yeah, all in all, it was probably, if I have to be specific, maybe my favorite trip of the year so far.
Yeah.
Might be there.
I tell you what, we actually had our own studio for it.
Yeah. I was hoping they would pack at the end of the show. They pack it up and accidentally ship it to one of our houses.
Oh, it was beautiful.
I want one of those.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys help us make Players Productions Network successful, we can have one of those.
And we would like to officially announce the first ever Players. What do they do that on PBS? the fundraising thing.
Oh, that's right.
The telethon.
The
or something?
telethon, the first annual Players Telethon. We'll have the phones will be manned, and you can phone in your donation.
Yeah, we take Venmo, by the way. Just to
Right.
let you know. All right. Good trip. Ready to end it. Ready to go home. You'll be on the road again next week. I'll be home next week.
Amen.
And then eventually we'll be back together November 9th to the 11th,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Sugar
and,
CRM analyst event.
At a San Jose resort, which remains unnamed at this moment.
A resort to be named later.
That's right.
All right. Well, I know what my name is right now. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM players. We'll see you next time. Whenever that is. If I can only hit the end broadcast button. There it is. All right.
We're out.
Now I can stop the recording on all this stuff because that's a long recording. Look at that. That's going to be a huge.
It's going to be terabytes.
That is
Now
going to
dealing
be
with terabytes.
huge. I want to see how big that is.
Right.
Just let it simmer.
We got it. We got John. We got Brian. We got Kevin. We did good.
Love it.
I want to see how big this file is.
It's 37 petabytes.
Let's see.
I am going to pack up so I can watch the Yankees.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is, of course, the most important thing.
I was trying to make it back here before you guys packed up and
Oh,
left.
no, don't worry. We just finished.
I just want to see how big
go
this file is. Look at this. 271.62 gigs.
Oh, my God. How do you deal
Wow.
with that? You convert it to
I've never had a file that big. I don't know.
convert it to an MP4. That's about it.
I'm surprised at it. I thought it would cut it up into multiple.
No, I think you probably can set it to do that, though. You know, like you did
Maybe.
set it like
That is huge.
Yeah, that's literally the biggest file I've ever heard of.
Well, I'm glad I was here.
It's sort of appropriate that it's Oracle that has the world's biggest file. And are you
I like it.